Hello friends, so once again welcome back to my channel. This evening or this time I'm going to quickly bring to you briefly update on volatility pairs and then what we are going to expect for this week. All right, so quickly let me just go through the videos, but I want to also say that if you are new to this channel, consider subscribing for more updates weekly basis on we give you more updates on what to expect within the week and other trade setups and beautiful signals, as well as very good tutorials on how you could go about trading. You know, we don't trade with a lot of, not necessarily a lot of indicators. We don't even trade with indicators. We are not that your mentor that comes online and gives you a lot of cumbersome chart with a lot of indicators. This is pure price action analysis, and my mentor Michael, I'm proud to be his son. All right, so quickly I want to take you to today's video. So we are looking at volatility 25, volatility 75, volatility 100, as well as volatility 50. All right, so today's video is going to be a little bit lengthy, but then I promise that I'm going to be as brief as possible. Okay, so now let's look at volatility 25 for the start, and let's see what our expectation is for the week. So I'm on the weekly time frame, and we saw price move from this point to all the way to this high, and then this low, and then this high, and then price broke down to this level. I mean, consequently, you could have seen that there is more to price than just me pointing out these few highs and lows. Okay, you could see another high in here, another low there. I mean, there's more to price than just me pointing this way. All right, but this is just for a weekly analysis, so let's look at it from this light. Okay, so we have a high, a low, a lower high, and then a low. Okay, so price has traded this way, and we could see that price actually was trying to push up into this area. What was price seeking for? I believe price was seeking for liquidity up in this area. Okay, so what can we find on the chart? So quickly, when we scan through the chart, we could see that there's a fair value gap resting in here. The price briefly traded into on this wick. So you could see that the mean threshold of this particular price action of this particular other fair value gap. So for those of you who are new to the channel, you are hearing fair value gap for the first time, so you can check out my videos. You would come across videos on what fair value gaps really are. Okay, so you could see that this is a fair value gap. Price traded back and couldn't close in on fully on the fair value gap. Okay, so price broke down, so we expect the remaining gap to be closed in. All right, so price rallied down and then it did all that I was doing here. So we're on the monthly time frame. Okay, and then what else do we see? We could see that there's another fair value gap resting below this point. You see, for all those traders who come to you and tell you that you got to trade with whatever indicator, trade with what, come on, they are drawing lines and showing you patterns and all that. Let me be specific and be clear with you, as I always say, that big banks and big institutions will not throw their millions of dollars and billions of dollars on animal patterns and patterns that doesn't really work. Okay, proper price analysis, proper financial price analysis is done before they put in their price in there. The market is always seeking for liquidity. In finance, liquidity, all form of assets, at the end of the day, we are seeking to um, find assets to a point where define asset to a point where it can be liquidated. Okay, I mean asset is even arranged in order of liquidity, which means that how quick we can convert an asset into cash. All right, so the market is always seeking for liquidity. All right, so quickly the market should, your eye on the market should be geared towards where is the nearest liquidity. Where is the nearest liquidity? And liquidity rests at certain points on the market. So these are certain points. One of the liquidity points is the fair value gaps. Is a liquid area that price can easily trade to. The highs and lows are liquid areas that price can easily trade to. So anytime you see me analyze, I quickly point out highs and lows, and then I come back to finding liquidity, finding gaps, finding imbalances. All right. So this is where we have a buy side imbalance and a sell side inefficiency. So we had only buying, but we didn't have some form of selling. So here, this market is inefficient. So the market will efficiently redistribute itself by coming to closing on this area. I'm not saying that that's what price is going to do now, but basically that's what I'm trying to show you, that all the price point where you see that the market is not efficient, price must efficiently deliver. So this is a quick one. Now let's look at what we are seeing on the monthly time frame. So we have a liquidity point resting above it and liquidity resting below where price is currently trading. Now let's go down to the weekly time frame. On the weekly time frame, what are we seeing here? What are we seeing on the chart? So we saw beautifully that price actually traded from this low all the way. So can you see that? Can you see that this was a monthly time frame fair value gap, but on the weekly, this, you're not seeing the fair value gap in here, but you're just seeing a fair value gap resting below this point all the way to this point. So let me quickly demarcate it for you to see. So on the weekly, let me change the color for the weekly. So on the weekly, you could see that there's this fair value gap resting in here beautifully. There's another fair value gap resting in here, which was filled. All right. So I'm trying to point out areas of fair value gaps. So for those of you who are not more familiar with the fair value gap topic, you can still watch me do this over and over again in here. So you get it. This is a beautiful fair value gap resting in here. I did this thing multiple times. So you could see beautiful a fair value gap resting in here, a fair value gap in here, another fair value gap in here. Can you see that this one was filled? Let me quickly delete this. Was this filled? No, it wasn't filled. This one, although has been filled, but do you think that should price trade and come here, does this fair value gap have any impact? Yes, it does. Now it is inverted because it has been traded through. Now it will become an inverted fair value gap. Should price trade and come down to this level? That's what I'm saying. All right. Okay. So now let's continue with our analysis and see our bias for the week. So quickly, we could see that currently where we are trading, we find a very nice fair value gap resting in here. And what do you see? What do you see price did? Price actually traded into the mean threshold of the fair value gap, closed in the middle of the fair value gap beautifully, and price reversed to close in on the upside of this particular candle. So this was for the whole of last week. And for those of you who caught the trade that I gave on volatility 25, beautifully you would have ridden all the way down to this point to hit the second take profit level. All right, so now watch this. So this week opens and price, this is Sunday's trading. price shoots up into the sky to close in on the gap, and then what next? Are we going to see a continuation to the upside or to the downside to close in on the fair value gap? Okay, now let's zoom out and see what let's zoom out and see this. Can you see that there's another fair value gap resting in here? There's another gap resting inside this area. Okay, which makes these two continuous order, which these two bearish candles a beautiful order block that price can trade to. So should price trade to this point, do you think it is going to break below this price point and seek for more liquidity below, or it trades to this point and is going to reverse? All right, let's go down to our daily time frame. On our daily time frame, what are we seeing? So we are still seeing that amidst the fair value gap resting in here, which is the weekly, we are seeing another small one, which is also a weekly fair value gap. But when you trade and come down, you realize that there's a daily fair value gap here, which price traded into, and then it goes bounce off from the breaker. Sorry, from the rejection block here. So beautifully, you can see that price traded into this breaker, and then it got, so this is a breaker, a low, a high, a lower low, and then a high, a higher high. So a high in here, higher high, and lower low. So this, the last bullish candle to the upside is the breaker. Price trades into it, doesn't close below it, and then boom. So the breaker rejects price into the skies, skyrockets price into the sky. Now let's zoom out a little and see how price fell in here. So on the daily time frame, you could see that price was actually the structure of the market was more bullish. So you could see how price was just trading, and it formed some short-term lows and highs, and then it also breaks them down. So watch this. This is although this is a long-term bullish movement, but you could see that it was forming some short-term lows and highs. So all these areas, trend line phantom, all these areas, you could see that although price on the daily time frame, it changed course and then it was trading downwards, but it was still in a bullish market. So for instance, some of my people, when I tell them that, oh, this particular market setup was still found in a bullish setup, they say, oh, when we could see price was dropping and price had broken structure. This is on the daily time frame. So you could see that the structure has shifted until price breaks this low. Until price breaks this low, which shot price up in here, we are still in that bullish market. So what is the next low? This one in here. Until price breaks this low, or until price trades and come and sweeps down this low, we are still in the same structure. We are still in the same market structure, or the market structure is still the same. So price can actually come down all the way this way, close in on this fair value gap, this weekly fair value gap, close in on this daily fair value gap, and even trade below this and back into this breaker again, and then reverse up, which is highly probable setup. As price has gotten in here, what is my next line of action? What do I see on the daily? I can see that the fair value gap has not been fully closed in. There are more fair value gaps resting below. There are some short-term there are some short-term lows that price can still sweep, which might trade into this breaker and then still reverse. So with volatility 25 within this week, I'm still expecting, if not for how do I call it, if not for the fair value gaps resting, I would have still hoped that price would reverse from this point, but I'm expecting some lower prices. Let's look at price on 4-hour time frame. On the 4-hour time frame was when we found the structure shift. Okay, Look at this swing from all the way from this side to this high. If you measure, you will notice that price trader is trading actually into the mean of the price. Okay, so within this price trading back into the mean, it has to close in on all other imbalances in the market. So you notice that when price was trading back, it almost tried closing in on all the imbalances. So there was an imbalance here, price had to close in on this imbalance, traded down, this imbalance here, price closed in on the imbalance. So I'm seeing this imbalance to be closed, then we would see to seek for more lower prices. So if price closes in on this imbalance, trades above this bullish candle here, which now acts as a breaker, should price trade into this, it can give you a very clear entry. You can enter, put your stop above this high, and then you see we wait for a reversal. These are all if values. Okay, so the market, you don't always expect the win-win. All right, so price trades into this. Now you know my criteria for entering trades. On the smaller time frame, go and check if you can see a reversal. If you see a reversal, then a reversal, which means that there should be a shift in market structure. So price trades in here forms a high, forms a low, another high, then forms a lower low. That's when you can see that price has shifted structure. Then you can give it a short when it reverses into the ultimate trade entry zone, or if it reverses into an order block or into a breaker, into a fair value gap, then you have a clean shot to ride price to the downside. All right, so briefly, that is all that I'm expecting for volatility 25. Let's go to volatility 75, everybody's favorite. Let's quickly look at what price is doing on volatility 75. So on the weekly, last week, as I mentioned, I was expecting some higher prices, and beautifully, yes, we had higher prices. So on the weekly, you could see that we closed bullish. We went into the sky, we traded up higher back into the area where we had closed in on. Let me quickly change this and use this. So you notice that price actually went up higher. Where the price go into, price actually traded into to sweep all the liquidity resting. So the equal highs which was resting in here, as I predicted 2 weeks ago that we're going to sweep it. So price actually went to sweep. Then price retraced to this week, last week, almost into that area. And then we had the rejection back into a downside. Okay, so what are we expecting? What's our expectation for the week? All right. So on the weekly, what can you see? You can't really see any fair value gap resting inside this zone. All you can see is the fair value gap, which hasn't been traded into, which is this area. Sorry. Okay, which is this area. We have another fair value gap, which was this area, which price has actually dealt with already. Okay, so this particular fair value gap, should price trade above it, I would rather want to see it as a support for price to trade above and come back into it. I would rather see it as a support for price to rather beef up into the sky. Okay, because on the monthly you have more fair value gaps resting above. We have these equal highs resting above this equal highs resting in here. So this is an area where price can likely draw into, not necessarily this week. All right, not necessarily this week, but these are all liquidity draws that can give you a sense of direction of where price should rather seek for liquidity. Okay, now on the smaller picture this week, what are we seeing? So we can see that today's Sunday trade price opened, and we're already in a bullish movement here. Now you can clearly say that all that price was doing here was that it's considered this particular setup here as an order block. Okay, and you could see that price goes into and gets rejected, goes into and gets rejected. Now on the daily time frame, we are seeing that price was trying to push down. I mean, as of Saturday and Sunday, price tried pushing back down. As price was closing in on this area, it went to close in on these imbalances, and not not totally, just a few more pip left for the imbalance up here to be closed fully. So price went in there to close in on that, and then we had a drop after it had gone into where price actually swept the liquidity. So watch this. Can you see this area? Can you see this price point, this liquidity point where price went to sweep that liquidity? So it means that as price went to sweep the buy side liquidity, okay, buyers still have that courage that as price has reversed and come back into that area, they are still going to execute more buying orders, and then price goes the inverse. Okay, so they still believe that that particular price point is a strong price point that, I mean, they could still buy, but price actually traded against them, um, and then went the other way. So what are we looking at here? What are we seeing here? We had a small fair value gap in here. Okay, a small fair value gap resting in here that price had actually closed in on. Okay, so here price has fully balanced itself, is no more inefficient, it's efficient market, but we have an imbalance resting above it. Okay, so you would necessarily want to expect price to close in on this imbalance in here, and then what else? Seek for beautiful. Can you see this almost equal lows resting in here? This is all a draw on liquidity that price can necessarily come and sweep in on this area and then take. Previously I told you that this was an area where I told you about how price was going to trade into this area. Consider this as an order block, and then, but watch this, as price has left this signature here, it's showing you that there are equal lows. Now the sell side, it has created sell side liquidity resting inside here. So you can even have this low, and then this low, creating this beautiful sell side liquidity, which would ultimately cause a draw on price to close in on this area. Okay, so beautifully, we are this particular price action here is giving us a clue that this area is being used as the order block to drive price lower to sweep more liquidity. So now watch this. It is giving you an area where price can draw on liquidity at. If price draws on this liquidity and closes below this particular, that means that it's giving us a draw to keep pushing further down. Okay, it's giving us a draw to keep pushing further down. And should price close in below this, so some of this, as for this area closing in, I'm expecting it. Should price go back up and close in on this fair value gap, right, resting below above it, I would necessarily wait and have a clear sign of reversal. If there's a shift in structure, then I ride price from this point to the downside. If there is not, then we are hoping to go back up. But if inside this fair value gap, inside this area, now let's look at it on the 4-hour time frame. If we even find more further reasons why we can, so beautifully, you could see that as price traded up here and traded in here, came up all this way, and then it broke the structure. So should price trade into any of these areas, which is on the let me show you again. So the price hasn't closed for the day, but I'm just hoping that it won't come up any further to close above inside this, or close in before the day ends, or the Sunday trading day ends. So on the 4 hour time frame, what I'm seeing is that should price trade back into this area, you can beautifully set your trade and look at seeing a possible reversal. Then you can ride price downwards. If not, you don't have the green light to do that. So should price take down these equal loads, I'm expecting that price would also seek for the liquidity on the downside. Now watch this. Can you see the fair value gap resting? Can you see the fair value gap resting in here? Should price take this equal low, I'm expectant of price coming down to sweep in on this low resting in here, and ultimately we may have a drop into this fair value gap resting in here before what the price does whatever it wants to do. Okay, awesome. So that is it for volatility 75. Okay, that is it for volatility 75. So always have an eye that price is seeking for liquidity. All right, don't just say that we are trending upwards, so everything is on upward movement. No, look for liquidity. Open your eye and see liquidity clearly. All right, now let's look at 100. Volatility 100. So volatility 100, as I told you last week that we're expecting lower prices. So volatility 100, as I told you last week, we're expecting lower prices, and beautifully we had a drop last week, and it happened as we talked about. All right, so you can see that there's a fair value gap resting in here, which hasn't been filled. Okay, how about this week? Is there any fair value gap? Okay, so it's almost, but there's a little. Okay, so this is the weekly fair value gap, and on the even on the weekly you can see that also on a daily as well we have a fair value gap resting in here. Okay, now let's look at the daily time frame. Is there a fair value gap? We can find some little fair value gap resting in here, that it is possible as price has taken down this liquidity draw, this sell side liquidity, price can go in here and then close in on this fair value gap resting in here as well. Okay, but I'm still expecting some lower prices. However, I'm expecting some reversal back into the upside before we continue down. Okay, before our final continuation down. Okay, yes, so that is my expectation for volatility 100. All right, when you look at it on the bigger time frame, quickly let me show you what I'm trying to say. Oh no, not this time. Okay, so what I'm trying to show you is this. Watch this. When we had a low high, lower low, and then price went and traded back into this breaker, and then it's reversed up. I'm still expecting that price is coming down to trade into the breaker again before it ultimately rallies back up. Okay, but then let's look at it on the weekly time frame. On the weekly time frame. So on the weekly time frame, I'm seeing price doing this. So price has already traded. So I'm seeing price going down to close in on this fair value gap resting in here. Okay, it's an old fair value gap that hasn't been traded into. I'm seeing price closing in on this fair value gap. Okay, so price should close in on this fair value gap. As it closes in on this fair value gap, so what actually took price up to the upside was watch this. When I put this price action here, where necessarily do you see price? So it was this bullish breaker here. Okay, this sorry, it is not a breaker. On the weekly time frame, it is a mitigation, this bullish mitigation block here, which actually took price to the upside. Okay, so I'm expecting price to necessarily come back into this mitigation, and then we rally price back. So I'm still expecting some higher prices. Nonetheless, we are expectant of price reversals into areas of interest. So watch this. This is a beautiful fair value gap 4-hour time frame resting in here. Another beautiful fair value gap 4-hour time frame resting in here, that price can necessarily come and close in on. All right, anytime we are expecting any sell or buy model, we should wait for price to necessarily show us the sign or the telltale sign that we want to ride up. So for instance, as price took down this low, this equal lows, now watch this. What is the telltale sign that, okay, as price has taken down the low, we want to ride back up? Let me show you on the 15 minutes time frame. So on the 15 minutes time frame, are we seeing any sign of reversal? So we could see that price traded up here, traded down. So this is a short-term low. It was swept back. So price has traded in here. So should price break above this high, then we have the clear sign that price wants to go back up higher. Then we expect a reversal back into so price should act this way. Let me use some this to show you. So should price close above this high, okay, should price close above this high, okay, this high should, and then it comes back again into an area of interest, we expect it to go back up higher. As easy and as simple as that. Okay, so I'm expecting, should price close above this high, should price close above this high, this high, this high, should price close above it, so price trades and closes above this high, then I know that we are clear that we want to go on the upside. So we wait for a reversal to close in on either fair value gaps or close in on the other blocks, then we have a reversal back into the upside. So not necessarily saying that we should only expect, how do we call it, we should only expect price to, we are looking for a sell, we are selling, or a downward price movement within the week, so we won't have an upward movement. Always check on the smaller time frame to ensure that it aligns with your interests. All right, okay, so that is it for volatility 100. I wish we could do volatility 50 before we end, because as I promised, it's going to be a long one, but I didn't want it to be too long. So we have volatility 50 on the chart. Can you see that volatility 50 actually did a lot of accumulation on this point, and then before the breaking down further into this area where it traded into this other block, and then we can see it trying to push back further up. Okay, now watch this. Sometimes price action is so I won't say it is not weird though. From this high, this low, this high, this sorry, all these areas, we could see that we could see that should I say, is an area of concern. It was a low, but it was a short-term low, so price broke below this low. So if I was going to plot my price action, it would have something like this. Okay, let me use this rather. Let me use my arrows, or let me use my drawings. So we have something like this, this, all the way this, okay, and then we are having all this form of consolidation, all this form of accumulation, price accumulation inside this area. Okay, so at the moment we are seeing a lot of accumulation. So in the face of accumulation, the only thing you can do is price running highs and lows, price running highs and lows, price running highs and lows. Okay, so beautifully, let's look at it from this point. Price has closed in on all the fair value gap on the weekly time frame on the lower side, but here we have a small fair value gap resting in here that price hasn't closed in on. Okay, so now watch this. Sorry, now watch this. Price has run the low, the sell side liquidity resting in here. All the sell side liquidity resting in here has been swept. All the sell side liquidity has been run already. Okay, we are seeking for price to close in on this fair value gap in here, and then we look at this phantom, trend line phantom, this trend line here that some people say, oh, it's a trend line, so price hit, and this is a phantom. Okay, price would necessarily have to also sweep all the highs resting above it, as easy as that. So I'm expecting price this week, I'm expecting price to either close in on this fair value gap, or watch this. Can you see this small fair value gap in here that price has already closed in on? This inverted fair value gap. I'm expecting price to use, if either price closes on this fair value, closes in, or it doesn't, inside this area, I'm watching it carefully. Price can use this area as an area of support to support price to shoot further up higher. So I'm watching how price is going to play on the 15 minutes time frame and 1 hour time frame and 4 hour time frame inside this area. So when I go down to my daily time frame, let me go back. When I go back to my daily time frame, you could see that yes, this is another fair value gap resting in here that price can close in on. Should price close in on and come back into it, and then the rest above it, I'm looking at how price is going to behave. Then based on that, I'll take a decision on how I'm going to look for higher prices. Okay, and should price trade below it and doesn't show a sign that it doesn't want to return, then we'll know how we are going to go about it. All right, so that is it for volatility 50. I'm expecting higher prices, but price should close in on this fair value gap and then trade below it, closing on the fair value gap resting below, and then we see how it plays. If it doesn't close in on the fair value gap resting below it, inside this fair value gap, this inverted fair value gap, I want to see some sort of action here, then I know how we go about our trading. So stay tuned. By tomorrow next, I'll be able to be giving you more update on, I'll come and give you more updates on all that is transpiring and the possible entries that may be resurfacing. Okay, yes, so that is it for today's trade and today's analysis. So I'm expecting that if you are new to the channel, please do well and subscribe. If you are an old friend and old folk of the channel, give me a thumbs up, a like, comment, ask any question you want to ask. And a good news that I have for you today is that the beginners class for those who don't know how to trade on forex market is going to come on this coming Saturday. Okay, so today is Sunday, so the next Saturday is the day that we are going to have the beginners class, and it's going to take off at 6:30 p.m. Ghanaian time, GMT, 6:30 p.m. Ghanaian time, GMT 00. All right, so whichever country you are, you can adjust your time to suit us and find out, convert your time and know what time you are going to have the class. It's going to be over Google Meet, Google Teams, okay, where I'll share my screen and teach you from the basic. It's going to be very interesting. So if you want to join, I'm going to put the link to the group. It's a WhatsApp page. I'm going to put the link to the group in the description box. You can join, and whoever you want also learn forex, you can share the link with them for them to join in, and I believe that it will be a great blessing for them. All right, so without much ado, I want to say thank you for your time, and then give me a thumbs up, give me a like if this video really communicated much to you. So I want to say enjoy the rest of your week and have the best of the week. Stay blessed.